Hello, folks. Hope you can hear me. Somebody let me know if you can hear me. I guess we're live, and I guess we are ready to go. The final
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It is just about time for the motion hearing in the Brian Kohberger case, State of Idaho versus Brian Kohberger. And it's just a few minutes before 9 o'clock there, or a few minutes before noon here on the East Coast where I am. And we are going to try to do a live stream. We're a relatively new channel. We've only been doing true crime since last September. So I know there are a lot of other folks for you to watch out there. And so I appreciate your being with me today. Bear with us, please. We have done a couple of lives and it's been a little bit rough, but here we are, and we're going to hope for smooth sailing. If you are watching us and if you see me right now, please let me know. I see Sue is out there. Barefoot Nanny is out there. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being there. And as you know, we are waiting for the start of the hearing. And I am going to now take a look and see what we do have. Tina, hi, Tina B. Prophets C. Good to see you, folks. I'm glad I'm not here alone. It's good to know that I'm not the only person here, that there are other people out there. So please say hello if you're watching us, because I don't want to think that I am all alone. So let's take a look at what we have here. And we're trying to get into the website of Judge Judge. He has, as you know, he has his own website. Early on, he kicked out the TV cameras, and so he said he would do it himself. And hi, Prophet C, you shared the stream on X. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. It's great for you to be here. I really appreciate you being here with me. There is Judge John Judge's YouTube page. Other judges in Idaho have done this, but Judge John Judge was unhappy with the way the pool photographers were handling things. He had given them specific instructions, and some of those instructions were violated. So he took it over, and the hearings have been coming down through Judge John Judge's own YouTube page. So we have some new people. Prophet C, thank you. Toby, thank you. CG. Germany, we have someone here from Germany. Welcome, CG. It's really nice to have somebody here from Germany. We are. People ask me, where are you? We don't intentionally try and be shady. We just like, for security reasons, not to give it all away. But we are in. I have two offices. One is about 20 miles north of Boston, Massachusetts. The other one is about 12 miles south of Manchester, New Hampshire. Today I am in that office, so I like to refer to where we are as being in suburban Boston. I used to commute into suburban Boston, but in any events, we are watching for the start of the hearing. If folks have any questions, I have some of the documents here. I'm old-fashioned. I like the paper. I know a lot of people are better at doing it on the computer. My office is largely paperless, but I myself personally kind of like the paper. So I'm prepared to ask questions if you have, and if I can answer your questions, I will do so. If I can't answer your questions, I'll be honest and let you know. So I am now just double checking to make sure that this hearing has started. We have done several episodes, as you know, some of our followers. We have done several episodes on the motion to change venue. The original motion itself was filed way back in January of this year. Then the actual supporting memorandum, 319 pages of expert testimony and argument, was filed by Brian Kohberger's defense attorneys a couple of months ago. Then the state responded about 2 weeks ago. Then there was a reply brief about a week ago. And so there have been a lot of developments and arguments. And notably, just very, 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 very recently, within the last few days, the prosecution has kind of issued a document in which they didn't come right out and say, "Oops," but they did say, upon review of the defendant's reply brief and the supporting declaration of Dr. Veronica Day here, who is one of 5 experts in the case, as well as review of the documentation submitted by the defendant with his initial brief, the state provides the following notice. Portions of the state's brief indicate that the state was not provided with a comprehensive survey data from the defendant. This is incorrect. The state was provided raw data from the surveys as well as a declaration that analyzed some of the data. So they're saying here that in their initial brief, we said that we didn't have the data. It wasn't supplied, but now they're saying, oops, so this is incorrect. We were, the state says, provided with the raw data from the surveys as well as a declaration that analyzed some of that data when the defendant filed their initial motion to change venue on July 22nd, 2024. Though the state's argument remains unchanged, the state does not wish to create an impression that the state did not receive all of the survey data. To that end, the state submits this notice in advance of hearing. So they're saying, all right, we were wrong. We said that the defendant did not provide us with all the data. We're sorry. We apologize. We do have all the data, but that doesn't change our argument. So we go forward. We now have Donna online with us. Hi, Donna. Thank you very much for chiming in. We have CG, who is from Germany. We have Rose K. He is not going to get a fair trial in Moscow. It needs to be moved. I don't have faith it will. Well, we'll hear the arguments today. The defense attorneys had said that they will more fully develop their arguments. So they've already filed 319 pages of argument and 5 experts and charts and graphs and a lot of data from surveys. And the prosecution did not file any experts. They did point out what they say were discrepancies. But in a reply brief, Kohberger's attorney said, nuh-uh, we weren't wrong at all. So we're going to hear some fireworks today, I would think. We would hear some fireworks today, I would think. And yes, I'm watching. I am watching on another channel because sometimes the judge's channel doesn't refresh when they come on. So I will, if I see that they're going to start, I'll let you know. Because right now it is on the East Coast, 11:59. On the West Coast, Pacific time, which they adhere to in Moscow, Idaho, it is 8:59. So it's rare that a court actually comes out exactly on time. It does happen. Happened to me once when I was looking for parking, and they actually were calling the list, and I missed it. In a 30-year career, it's not so bad to miss it once. But it is rare. I'm watching for that. If any of you in my audience actually see that it started somewhere else, let me know because I'm watching. We have some new people. We have my dogs. Hey, my dogs. We have Karen Cheney. Hey, Karen. And we have Toes turning over every stone. Hey, I like that. I'd steal it if you didn't have it already. Toes, turning over every stone. I like that. But okay, the clock just turned to 9 o'clock here in the East. I'm sorry, 9 o'clock in Moscow, Idaho, 12 noon here on the East Coast. We're north of Boston, so that's our time here. And we are just watching for the start of the hearing on the motion for change of venue. There have been some other developments. One of the other developments that happened just this week, I mean, I was shaking my head when I saw that there were 12 discovery requests by the defense attorney, but now there have been 17. There have been 17 requests for discovery. The 17th was filed by Ann Taylor on August 26th, which was just this week. That would have been Monday. And I kind of fell off my chair when I saw this. I guess I shouldn't have, but this is the 17th supplemental request for discovery by Ann Taylor. Please take notice that the undersigned, pursuant to Rule 16 of the Idaho Criminal Rules, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to the Constitution of the United States and Articles 1, 2, 13, and 17 of the Constitution of the State of Idaho requests discovery and inspection of all materials discoverable by defendant per Idaho Criminal Rule 16B 1 through 8. Repeat that back to me. And the aforementioned constitutional provisions, including but not limited to the following information: evidence and materials outlined in Exhibit P. Oops. So we don't learn anything, because guess what? Just like all the prior, not all, but many of the prior discovery requests, Exhibit P is under seal with the court. Exhibit P attached to defendant's 17th supplemental request for discovery has been sealed. So we don't know what it is. I'm sure there's people out there speculating, but we do not know of record. And here in this channel, as our regular viewers know, we kind of like to stick to the ascertainable facts. We read the pleadings. We read reliable sources. We talk to reliable attorneys to get some advice in that area. But we don't like to go down the tunnel route. So we don't know what is going on with that discovery request. So we have some new people. Karen, I said hi to. My dogs, I said hi to. Ange, is that Ange? Hopefully the judge will be impartial and genuinely pay attention this time, hoping Brian gets a fair trial. Toes, again, nice name. I would like to steal it, but I won't. Says, hello, everybody. Thanks. Prophets C is here. We have another new person, Missy. Hey, Missy. Aberly. That's Sheldon's sister's name. Big Bang Theory. I'm sorry, Missy. It will be changed, but to neighboring Nez Perce County, and he still won't get a fair trial. Well, I've heard other people say that. So we don't know. Okay, I'm still watching. You have to refresh Judge's page to keep up in touch, but I'm also watching elsewhere. And the judge still hasn't come out. The hearing has not started, so please don't go away. Stay with us. Call your friends, call your neighbors, call your co-workers, call your enemies. Bring everybody in, because you know what? We are a relatively new channel. I've learned so much from some of the very good attorneys who are out there. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's some excellent attorneys out there who do this and who've been doing it for a long, long time, and they really are very good at it. So I hope that we will build ourselves up to that. And I want to thank all of you for being with me today. We're watching as soon as the hearing starts. It's only 9:04 out in Moscow, Idaho, and the hearing is not started. we are watching for that. And when it happens, we'll bring it in. If you have any questions, let me know. The other thing I thought we could talk about while we're waiting is the scheduling order, which we did a previous episode on. But, there's some dates coming up, and this could go relatively fast. And so while I'm watching another channel to make sure that we're not missing anything, we all know that the trial has been scheduled in this case for June 2nd of 2025. And ironically, it is scheduled to run through August 29th of 2025, which is exactly 1 year from the day that we're doing this live stream. So if you're watching it back on a recording, August 29th, 2029, there's actually a stop date for the trial. Now, a pretrial conference is scheduled for April 3rd of 2025. Motions challenging the death penalty shall be filed on or before September 5th of 2024. That's only a week from today, folks. Summer goes by so fast. I hate it. I like summer. It was a little bit too hot for me this summer, and my garden didn't do well. But anyhow, all of that aside, the motions challenging the death penalty, which I fully anticipate, are due September 5th. Then there's a whole plethora of other dates that come from that, objections and replies and all that kind of thing. But two of the big deadlines in this case are the state's discovery deadline, September 6th, which, as we sit here today on this live stream, that's only a week from tomorrow. It's next Friday, not tomorrow, next Friday. So the state's discovery deadline is coming up pretty fast. The defense, having constitutional ramifications, has a little bit more time, and that's why they get more time. People will ask me that. The defense's discovery deadline will come up on January 9th of 2025. So those dates come up pretty fast. I heard a commenter that I listen to on the radio in Boston all the time say one time, once 4th of July passes, we're on a greased coal chute to the holidays. And that's true. When I first heard him say that a number of years ago, I said, oh, come on, stop being so cynical. But it's true. So, we're looking into discovery deadlines coming up for the state next week, September 6th, and then the defense discovery deadline, January 9th. Okay. Amanda, where's Lainey? She's home. I've invited her, but she just got back from a camping trip. She just got back from a camping trip, and I've invited her to come in. So I thought to myself, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to see if I fall flat on my face. I fall flat on my face, right? I mean, our very first live that I did with someone else some time ago, just really, I'm not going to mention because it really wasn't their fault, just really was a bomb. So anyhow, that's why Lainey's not here. She's still with us. Now we have my dog saying end of summer means football. It sure does. We're mailing out our office football calendars as we speak. Rajiv Vasisht. I'm sorry, Rajiv, if I didn't say that correctly. Thanks, Andrew. Great show. Thank you, Rajiv. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name right, but thank you for hanging with us. Yes, I'm checking our other source. And no, the hearing has not started yet. So you never know. Some judges just, they don't come out. Other judges, again, as I mentioned earlier, I had a judge one time. They called the list right precisely at 9 o'clock, and I was out in Newton, Massachusetts, circling around looking for parking. So like I said before, it's only happened to me once in a career of 30 years. So if it only happens once in a career of 30 years, so everything was all right, and I had to file some papers. But so now the list of experts, along with a copy of the experts report for the state, is December 4th. So that's coming up pretty quickly. And then a list of experts for the defense is due January 9th. Well, we already know 5 experts. I just, one time we were just speculating, and I said they could have a dozen experts. Well, they already have 5. So So who knows what's going on behind the discovery, whether we are going to have additional medical testimony, a pathologist. That they're going to put on the LiDAR video of inside of the house. We may have acoustics experts. You just never know what kind of experts you're gonna have. My dog. What do you mean? He's on Bev's time? He's on Bev's Tim's? I don't know. All I've said about that is that in watching the Karen Reed trial, I am a member of the Massachusetts bar, and I have all due respect for all judges. I don't like using a shortcut name. I know it's out there, but I'm not going to disrespect any judge. I'm not going to disrespect another attorney. You folks all have yeah, I know what you mean. Judge Bev from Karen Reed. I know. But I didn't know what the comment he's on Bev's Tim's meant. So as long as we're talking about the Karen Reed case, we're working on something on the Sandra Birchmore case. People that are following that closely may know that yesterday, and again, we're recording this on August 29th. On August 28th, it was reported that Mathwell Farwell, the former police officer from Stoughton, Massachusetts, has been indicted and arrested. He was driving a truck in Revere, Massachusetts, on the other side of Boston from Stoughton and Canton. And so Sandra Birchmore, who died tragically in February of 2021, initially the police reports, which we've gone over here, indicated it was a suicide. It was not a suicide. As we read through the pleadings in a civil case on that case, Sandra Birchmore's family hired their own pathologist, and the pathologist said absolutely not. It was a homicide. Apparently, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Boston has done the same thing and hired their own pathologist. And an indictment was returned earlier this week. And former Stoughton officer Matthew Farwell was arrested, brought into court. The indictment was read, and he is now being held. And just a shocking motion to detain him with just awful details. Some are unbelievable, and it's tragic. And we're working on something. We'll release that very soon. I just want to let you know, getting away from the Kohberger case in that Kohberger case, in that we're having a little bit of a wait before the hearing starts. Can't hear that. Can you hear that? I hope not. I'm going to. Okay, I just muted it. Some commercials came on the other. Okay. Okay. All right. I hope you guys can't hear that. I am watching another channel. Okay. Looks like the hearing is starting. So we're going to go over to Judge's channel and refresh it. We're going to refresh the channel because if you don't do that, hang with nothing's happening. Sorry. I'm sorry. Nothing's happening. They're just starting up. Nothing is happening. Stay with me. Stay with me. And stay with me, folks. Here we go. Hundreds of PowerPoints. Hundreds. Oh my gosh. Elizabeth Mathis, start. Elizabeth Massoff, the other attorney for Mr. Kohberger. Stay with me, folks.
That when a small community creates pressure to impose death, an Eighth Amendment violation may occur. Through these witnesses today, we want to avoid beginning a trial with, as Mr. Sunby states, quote, a thumb on death's side of the scale, end quote. And with that, I call James Todd Murphy.
Thank you.
A thumb on death scale. Did you hear that? It's going to be a long day. They've got a ton of different experts, and they're going to put them all on.
Hey, maybe Mr. Murphy, come on up this way, or however you can find your way through. And please face the clerk, raise your hand.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Jill, I see you're still here. Thank you. I just had a couple of little technical glitches. Thank you for bearing with me. We'll get through this.
Under penalty of perjury.
I do. All right. Thank you, sir. Please have a seat there. And once you're seated, please state your name and spell your last.
James Todd Murphy. I go by Todd, my middle name. Last name is Murphy.
All right. Sir, Captain Jaffa.
Mr. Murphy, how are you employed?
I'm the president of TrueScope. That's spelled TrueScope. It's one word.
And can you explain what TrueScope is?
Sure. TrueScope is a media monitoring and analysis service. We wrap our arms around all the media types.
He's wrapping his arms around all the media type. This is the media guy that did the survey about all the publicity
Out there, you can do it on a global level or a geographically isolated level. Normalize all that data from television, radio, newspapers, magazines, social media, online sources. Index that with metadata so we know date, time, placement. We assign
newspapers that nobody's reading anymore, the dinosaur TV networks that are are experiencing dwindling audiences.
sentiment metrics to it. And from that, we can extract data sets for what our clients need. specific to topics or phrases.
Can you explain how you track this media intelligence that you just described?
Sure. So we have feeds that are coming in. For example, we acquire a feed from X, formerly Twitter. We have an online feed that
He has an online feed. That means he does everything that you do, folks. Nice viewers out there. You watch this stuff, so does he.
accesses all available online sources. We have a broadcast feed of TV, radio, and podcasts. All those feeds come into us as they're broadcasted, as they're posted, as they air or are printed. We don't do any modification of the text or the context. We just take it as it was provided by the content owner, index, store it, and then run queries against it.
Where did you travel from to be with us
Boy, the judge does not look interested at all. He has a frown on his face. It's like, why do I have to be here?
here today?
Our North America headquarters are in Omaha, Nebraska, where I live.
Would you tell the court about your background in media intelligence?
Sure, might sound cliche, but I was born into the business. My father acquired a press clipping service called Universal Press Clipping Bureau in 1959. Eventually met my mother.
I remember that agency, the press clipping people. You could actually hire somebody, suppose you're a politician, suppose you're the local dog catcher and you want to run for mayor. You could hire this company and they would actually look at all the newspaper articles and read all the newspapers and clip the articles and put them in a little binder. I remember them, but that hasn't been a thing for a long time.
Without further detail, eventually I
Look, even the judge is laughing at that.
came in existence. That's a technical phrase, I'm not sure. So working alongside my father growing up was just part of the DNA. I studied psychology and communications in college, and when I graduated, the internet was beginning to become a thing. And so I saw a future of data mining and expanding what was a press clipping service into the future. So my full-time employment with Universal at the time started in 1991 and came to today.
Beyond your 30 years of experience that you've described in your educational background, do you have other qualifications in this area?
Yes. So in the mid-90s, I developed a framework for comparative media analysis where we could take those data sets.
Wesley, I see your question there. This is the TrueScope media expert for the defense. This is the defense's day. They will be calling the witnesses for quite a while. So to answer your question, the defense is calling the experts.
And compare. My first project was letting hospitals compare themselves to others to see how one brand of a hospital might compare to another within a community or market. I also invented the first multi-channel media monitoring software that would let us monitor multiple TV channels on one computer and write the closed captioning text to a database simultaneously. Innovations not quite as exciting as those continued throughout the years. I also made other acquisitions, which I then folded into Universal, buying up other monitoring services in Alaska or Wisconsin or wherever. Eventually, merged my company with TrueScope, a technology company out of Australia. TrueScope owns Universal Information Services at this point, and we're adding AI and other natural language processing to what we do.
What about organizations? Are you part of any organizations in this field?
I am. There's a global organization of all media intelligence services called FIBEP. That's spelled F-I-B as in boy, E-P as in Paul. Every continent except the uninhabited ones have many, often multiple media intelligence.
FIBAB, not to be confused with FUBAR.
So media monitoring services. They belong, or most belong to this organization. My peers in this organization have to be president, to lead this organization at a global level last year. I'm currently the president of FIBAB.
And have you ever testified related to your expertise before?
I have been asked to do that. Yes.
Before you start talking about the data in this case, how closely have you followed this case on a factual level?
I kind of have a personal standard operating procedure that when a client engages us on a topic that I feel for our company may become contentious or may have downstream effects where I might be called to objectively testify, I purposely remove myself from evaluating the content of the data set related to the subjects they're asking us to monitor. So while I have made myself familiar with the search strategy, the keywords, the phrases, which would include the defendant's name and the family.
You know, they're just not only building up his qualifications to show that he is qualified to be an expert, but they're giving the background as to what went into his work. It's tedious. It's lengthy. I know for some of you, it's probably boring. I've talked to trial attorneys who say that trying a case, and this isn't a trial, this is a motion hearing, but trying a case is a very inexpedient way to resolve disputes. And I have to agree with it, even though, you know, as an attorney, I have to tell you that the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure have to be complied with. But it can be tedious having him go through all of this, that, you know, his father had this company that clipped newspaper articles, and he has a degree in psychology, and it's tedious, but it has to be done. If you have any questions, put them down on the bottom. Hey, Joanne, nice to see you.
Names of the students that are victims. I have done very little. I paid very little attention to the media exposure on this. In fact, I just learned that the judge of this case has a last name that sounds like he was born for this role. That was last night. I didn't
Oh, come on, stop buttering up the judge, will you?
know who the judge was. Or coincidence. My apologies for not knowing who you were until last night. Thank you.
Are you familiar with Ms. Saucier, who testified last year in this case?
Yes, Jean Saucier is my right-hand person. She's a senior vice president of client success. She has a media measurement background that started years before she came to be under my employment. I would venture to say she's as much of an expert in this area as I am. And if she was actually here, I'd probably say she's more of an expert, but since she's not, I'll claim that for myself.
So for context purposes, when she testified about data in TrueScope, is it the same set of data that you've just testified to?
Exact same data. We work at the same company. We have access to the exact tools. She works with clients directly as yourself, and I work directly with her.
How is TrueScope using media intelligence in this case?
I'll say it maybe functionally. We have been asked by you, our client, to track specific topics related to this case, names associated, and I might say the more unique a phrase is, the more accurate our media monitoring can be. If the name was John Smith and Susan Jones, then we have to do much more Boolean logic, apply more Boolean logic to make sure that we're focused on extracting it's very specific. So for you, we've built a search query using Boolean logic and AI to focus on the stories that are of interest in this case. The second half of what we're doing, so that's the media monitoring. We first capture the data. That creates a data set. Then that data set is analyzed by our analysis team, which is.
I don't trust AI to do this ever since we did an episode a long time ago, about a year ago, about AI, how sometimes it makes things up. And if it just AI actually likes to entertain itself. If you give it a mathematical formula, just as a joke, AI will make up an answer. So I don't trust AI with this. I really don't.
It's led by Cheryl Lewis, Theril, Lewis, Lewis. And she has an assistant data analyst who they're trained in a way that we call cross-coder proficiency. So whether Cheryl analyzes a story or Perry, her assistant analyzes it, they analyze it in the same manner. That also creates a check and balance that if something in the media monitoring function, picks up a story that matches the name Judge, but for some reason isn't the Judge associated with this case. The analyst then at a human level can say, that's the wrong Judge, and it would be removed from the data set at the analysis.
What objectives is TrueScope?
Jill, you can't move the trial out of state. I know you're just being funny, but the trial can only be somewhere in Idaho. They can't try it in Arizona.
Trying to achieve in this case?
We've been primarily asked to look at the without even being hyperbolic, would say an extreme amount of media coverage, its impact on a population or a community, and the statistical volume of that media exposure on various communities across the U.S., but focused on several counties within Idaho.
How long has TrueScope been gathering data for Mr. Kohberger's case?
I believe we were engaged on February 15th, 2023. We have some ability to pull some data forward from that time, but that's when technically the engagement came.
And you've talked about the media types and the data that's gathered. Is area or location of media coverage able to be determined?
Yes, in most cases, maybe I'll separate that into two areas of media. You have traditional media, which would be television, radio, newspapers, magazines, even online news sources.
Which nobody is reading anymore.
Those are all.
Have you gone into a store lately and looked at the magazine rack? There's nothing there, and it looks like people just walk right by it as though it's, nothing.
Tied to a specific city and state. You have the Moscow Daily News, and the metadata that we have attached to that source would say, okay, that publication name is in the city of Moscow, in the state of Idaho, and has a circulation figure of, I'll say, hypothetically 3,000 readers. I don't know the exact circulation on that specific paper. For television, each television news affiliate, local news comes from what's called a local news affiliate. It may be the ABC affiliate, but it may have call letters such as KXLY, I think is one of the Spokane channels. And they may be an NBC or an ABC affiliate, but they're the local affiliates who's in charge of airing local news. And Nielsen media data, Nielsen services, you may have heard of Nielsen boxes and market ranks and things like that. They know that that station is in this city, in this state, and each affiliate is part of a DMA, a designated market area. Stop me if I'm going too far down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you because you are going too far down the rabbit hole. I mean, he's telling you that the local station does the local news, and they might be a part of a network, but the local station does the local news. Really?
The designated market area, although the news may come out of Spokane, Washington, the designated market area is a radius around that.
Toby, stop talking about me like that.
That can take in additional cities, counties, and at the functional level, consumers of news, viewers in this case.
Is frequency of media coverage able to be determined?
Yeah, we since on television, newspapers, online, demographics can change over time, can change by day. So a good example of frequency, why frequency matters. A local news affiliate might have a 6 to 7 a.m. newscast, a midday newscast, a 5 p.m. and a 10 p.m. Depending on what time zone you're in, this can be adjusted based on network. But let's say that they ran a story about anything. They might have run it in the morning where the demographics skew one way. They might run it at midday, which might have a much smaller audience or potential viewership. They might run it at 5 o'clock, which would have people who come home from work early or those who are unemployed. And then at 10 o'clock, generally can be the largest audience. So knowing what time they run it lets us know the demographics, the audience, and even a vanity metric called ad values. We won't get into that, but what time a story airs and how many times it runs, we aggregate that and we can say, okay, this story ran 4 times on this channel on one day and had a total viewership potential of, say, 50,000.
Sometimes don't you wish you could just put real life on double time and kind of speed through it?
That doesn't mean I watched it at all 4 times. That just means the viewership at each of those times has the potential to see it. And that's where frequency comes into play.
Are there types of media coverage that Truth Scope does not gather?
We don't track anything that's illegal. We don't go behind.
Toby, you haven't missed anything really. This is just the media, the TrueScope media expert who is just being qualified. These are his credentials, and he's just talking about, they basically have AI and humans who read all the newspapers, watch all the TV, and scope out everything that has been said. He was retained back in February of 2023, but they were able to go back a little bit. There, you haven't missed anything.
We don't penetrate privacy rules, such as your personal Facebook pages if they're marked to private. We also don't look at streaming entertainment channels such as Peacock, Hulu, where the content on those channels often is broadcast originally in a specific time zone. We call that an ephemeral broadcast, where it aired at 5 o'clock and then was lost to the ether. But Hulu and those streaming channels give the opportunity for that story then to be posted, and you can watch it at your leisure in a time shifting. We don't monitor those adjacent streaming channels, because they're subscription based, demographics are different, and we already have the content as it was aired originally.
Hi, Christina.
I'm going to hand you what's been stipulated and admitted as a part of Exhibit C. I've shown the state, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I just can't see this trial being held in this little teeny tiny little courtroom. I can't see, with all the attention, all the witnesses, Mr. Kohberger there, all the attorneys for all parties. I can't see this trial going forward in this courtroom. I just can't see it.
Can you tell the court what that is?
That is a very base level spreadsheet of all the media exposure, just looking at some of the topics specific to this account that you've engaged us for, including the topics that you've specified we monitor for your account. It includes various things like the type of media, so it might be Twitter or print or broadcast. It would include the metadata we include, city, state, circulation, viewership, things like that. There's also hyperlinks. As a client of ours, you would receive, if you exported this from your workspace or we exported it for you, you would have a hyperlink. You would click on that. Because we have a cookie on your computer, it would open that hyperlink and you could see the full story. Unless it's an online story or a social media story, then we take you directly to that end source. So if it's MoscowDailyNews.com and it's in front of their paywall, you would click on that link and you can view that story yourself.
So he does not look at stuff like the tunnels, like the Fortran thing, like the fuzzy car going back and forth at night. And I hate to tell you, but a lot of people are watching that stuff. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you and the judge, a lot of people are watching that stuff.
Is Exhibit C in front of you specific to Latah County?
Yes, I see under county, spot checking it and spinning through where it can be determined These are all Latah County related. Some of them are cities within Latah County.
Is the list of Exhibit C approximately 1,360 entries long?
Yes, I can confirm that's the number of rows, which each row would indicate a individual media mention, or also known as a media story, an article or a news story on a broadcast.
And Your Honor, I won't have him hand that to you now, but for purposes of the record, that will be a paper copy for the court's file. You have that in an Excel spreadsheet that's much easier to read than what is in that paper in there.
Right, okay, so this was agreed by the state too. So I just want to make sure, because I have the exhibit C also that was attached to your brief,
Which is
300 pages. So, but then we have the additional C, which is more, I guess, thorough.
so this is a part of C related to TrueScope, which is this list of the 1,300 stories. And then I'm about to get into the other part of Exhibit C, which is TrueScope's report.
Okay,
They're not going to read all 300 pages of it today, I hope.
okay, great, thank you. Just wanted to clear that up.
Did you prepare some other documents that represent media coverage in 4 counties in Idaho for this case?
We did. Once TrueScope had, and it's an ongoing thing. We're constantly monitoring your news. So even this morning, you would have received a report of any media exposure that has happened since yesterday morning. It runs on a 24-hour cycle where we pushed out a report to the clients, but we're collecting it in real time. So if a client wanted to look at their workspace at 3 p.m. today, all that news would be in there. I may have digressed from your question.
That's I'm going to hand you an exhibit.
Okay.
This is the second part of C. And I'm going to put that in front of you because it might be easier to see. You've got 2 screens.
Yes, that was the second part of my answer. We did prepare a media measurement analysis. Cheryl Lewis's team, and that's part of the combination of services that we're providing.
Okay, looking at this page here, can you please explain to the court what this is?
Sure. You have 2 pie charts. On the left, you have the volume of media coverage specific to the keywords and phrases searched for our client related to this case. You see on the left, out of all the media coverage between January 2023 and July 15th, 36% of that coverage, or just over 36% of that, was seen or had the opportunity to be seen in Latah County. On the right side, you have another pie chart that shows the population of Idaho, and it shows what percentage Latah County represents of the total percentage of Idaho, which is 2.75%.
On the second bullet point of notes there's some reference to census. Can you explain that note?
Sure. The census data used for this was from, I believe, July of 23. Of the 40,924 people in Latah County, we were asked to look at age eligible to serve on jury duty amongst all of that, the people in the county, which equated to 61%, or just under 25,000 people of the nearly 41,000 all are age eligible to serve on the jury.
Right.
In Latah.
Going to the next page. What does this page tell the court?
This is the same analysis framework performed on a different county. Again, on the left, you see the total media coverage in Idaho for the same date range, but 34% of the media coverage
Now, this is a full-scale evidentiary hearing where they're putting on witnesses, and it would seem to me that this could have been done as an argument, as they could have argued this on the pleadings, because all this information has been submitted in briefs. It's just been resubmitted in greater form, 300 pages in Exhibit C, and it would seem to me, I mean, I thought that the state of Idaho, through Chief Prosecutor William Thompson, had already said, yeah, we know there's a lot of media coverage. When I went down to Mexico, somebody came over to me and asked me about this case. And so it seems to me that this hearing is going to be really long. We're only 40 some minutes into it, and it's real tedious. And they're getting down into the weeds of a detailed study, no aspersions to true scope, excuse me, or the gentleman who's on the stand. Very thorough guy. I'm a media student. My undergraduate degree is in media. He did a great job. But it would seem to me that this is a terribly inefficient way to go about, determining whether or not the venue in this case should be changed, because I think everyone in the world, and especially everyone in Idaho, knows that the amount of coverage in this case has just been just crazy. So I question why they have to go through this level of detail.
Was seen in Ada County, which is just a couple percentage points below that of Latah County. The primary difference is the right-hand pie chart, which shows the population of Ada County relative to all of Idaho, and it's over a quarter of the state population, in Ada, or 26.42%.
What conclusions do you draw when you compare the two counties' data?
There's a lot more people in Ada County. And where I would be going with that as a media analysis, when I would interpret this from a media analysis perspective, is the propensity to dilute the media exposure in a larger population is a factual function of that. If you have a certain number of stories divided by the population, the number of stories a person can see is fewer if the population is larger. Did that answer your question? Or was I?
I'll follow up with another specific one. Out of the two counties, where is the most opportunity for a resident to view stories about this case?
It's by far in Ada County. When we did the analysis of the age eligible process, nearly 300,000 people in Ada County are jury age eligible, compared to just under 25,000 in Latah County.
I'm gonna just ask my question again. It was probably inartful on my part. Do more people in Latah County, is there more saturation in Latah County or more saturation with media coverage in Ada County?
Yes. A person in Latah County would be exposed to far more media coverage than people, a community in Ada County.
Can we now switch to the third slide? What does this show?
This adds in 2 additional counties that we were asked to look at. It reflects media exposure specific to Bannock and Camden counties.
And and then there's also a gray area rest of Idaho. You just want to explain what we see here?
Sure. So if you look at the volume of media coverage for the same
Again, I don't see why they can't stipulate to a lot of this. I mean, they could do something that's called arguing on the pleadings, and in that all this stuff has been submitted to the judge, a 300-page Exhibit C, and the state of Idaho prosecutors agreed to allow it to go in. They had no objection. There's really, I don't see any reason to really go into this amount of depth. There's no jury. There's only a judge. It would seem to me that they could argue this to the pleadings, because at the rate we're going with all the experts that they are going to put on the stand, now I know why they scheduled this for 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, noon Eastern time, because they're gonna be going for a long, long time.
date range at the first 2, Latah, Ada, and then four counties we're looking at. Out of all the media exposure for the state of Idaho, Latah received 36%, Ada had 27%, Bannock 1.56, and Canyon just over 3%. The rest of Idaho got just under a third of the meetings. So outside those four counties, the rest of the counties in Idaho, for the rest of the people that, the rest of the regions in Idaho would have been exposed to approximately 31.53% of the media exposure.
You turn next to, I believe it's page 5. Explain what opportunities to be seen are and the differences in the counties.
Sure. So in this pie chart, again, we're looking at the same date range. Opportunities to be seen are maybe best described relative to probability versus possibility. Each person in any of these four counties, or the rest of Idaho for that matter, have an equal possibility to see a story. It's like flipping a coin. You can flip a coin 100 times and the possibility of it coming up heads is equal every time.
Joanne, I kind of agree with you. They have to go to this extent because the judge and the prosecutor are not having it. But I mean, they've got all the information. They have all of the information, so there's really no need